Hello and welcome. My name is Jennifer Sneeden, and this is the Spiritual Psychotherapy Podcast. On today's episode, I am so excited to share with you some of the foundational teachings that came into my life when I was first on the journey of connecting with my own spirituality, not even integrating it into psychotherapy yet, not even understanding the power of these principles in my work with therapy clients, but still in the very early stages where I was trying to understand what spirituality meant for me, my own spiritual beliefs, and incorporating them into my life. So the place I started is this beautiful little book called The Science of Getting Rich, which is written by a man named Wattles. If you do not yet have this in your library, please go get it on Amazon. It really changed so much for me. And I'm going to talk about that here today. And I'm going to share some of the teachings that really made a big impact in my life. But if you are new in your journey toward connecting with your own spirituality, then I absolutely cannot recommend this book enough. If you are a therapist and you are new to incorporating principles of spirituality into your work, same thing. This is a must read book. It's over 100 years old, so it's a little bit dated, but it's an easy read. If you can get past the fact that he talks about he and men, then you're going to get so much out of this book. If you could see my copy, it's all marked up and post-it notes and all sorts of things because I refer back to it so much. So this book came to me, I don't even remember how it came into my awareness, but it came at a time when I had recently launched my own practice. And those of you that have worked with me before, you know, it was a complete disaster when I started out. I did not understand anything about running a business. I didn't understand any success principles. I'd come from a corporate job. And before that, I had come from a very blue collar family where the beliefs about work were you have to have a job, you got to suck it up and go to your job and hopefully get your 2 weeks vacation every year and make it through to retirement. And I had been very successful in the corporate world, but I'd carried that mentality with me, this sort of negative attitude about work. And it's something you got to do. You got to suck it up so you can get your paycheck at the end of the week, and not the success mindset that you would want to see, certainly from your therapist, but not the success mindset that you would expect to see from a successful person in business. So here I was showing up to my office every week, really not seeing any clients. And then around comes Friday, which was supposed to be payday. There was no money to be had. And I was really struggling. I was debating whether I needed to go back and get another corporate job. By this time, I had my son, and I really didn't want to be traveling like I was. So I was seeking. And this is how so many of us come into this awareness, right? It's at this desperation, this point in our lives where we have to make a change. We cannot go any longer doing what we're doing. And that moment of letting go is where everything opens up for us. And this book was that for me. I was giving up the struggle. I was in a place of complete surrender. And somebody told me about this book, and I rushed to Amazon to get it. And I devoured it. I probably read it 3 times within the first day because I was so shocked by what Wattles was saying in here. The first thing he said, well, not the first thing, but the first thing that grabbed me is if anybody can be successful in any business in your town, you can be successful in that business in your town. And I was like, wait a minute, that sounds crazy, because I always believed that it was happenstance or luck. You have more clients because your husband's an attorney and can refer people to you. You have more clients because of this. I have less clients because of this, right? It was a big pity party, all the reasons why I didn't have enough clients. And once I read that, the truth of it just so deeply resonated to me that I was determined to figure out what is this certain way, right? And at first, I don't even know how to say this. I was at completely the wrong level. So I thought the certain way was this type of marketing or that type of website or this type of posts. And I tried to replicate what other people were doing. And of course, that was not the certain way that Wallace Wattles was talking about. So it wasn't until I failed at doing things the certain way that I thought I was supposed to be doing it that I came back to really absorb and understand what is this certain way? Because I think I'm doing what other people are doing and I'm still struggling. But what had switched for me that was so vital is I was now determined. I believe there is a certain way. I'm a pretty smart cookie. I believe I can figure this out. And I know I do good work. So let me figure out what is this certain way. And as I dove deeper into the book, it really became clear to me that I had really missed the mark when I thought the certain way was about marketing. That's not what it's about at all. The certain way that he talks about is a path that is open to all of us in every area of our lives. Not only did this certain way help me to go on and be very successful in my practice, and then coach other therapists on these principles, but it helped me also to teach these basic principles to my clients in ways that have nothing to do with money. Money was the entree for me because I was pretty desperate for it. But it was nothing more than an entree into these teachings that have enriched my life in so many ways. Within very short order, about 13 months, I was thriving. Money was no longer even a question for me. And that was one of the greatest gifts of my life because when I was no longer struggling, I could just focus on doing great work for my clients and doing the work that I love. So, my intention with sharing this work with you today, The Science of Getting Rich, is to help you understand how to incorporate these principles into your life. And he has another phenomenal book called The Science of Being Great. So if the money stuff doesn't really resonate for you right now, I would encourage you to pick up The Science of Being Great because that's also a fantastic book. So I'm going to share with you some of the things that made me, oh my God, like it was just such a shocking revelation to me that my world was never the same again. So I want to talk through a couple of those here with you today. The first one is every person naturally wants to become all that he or she is capable of becoming. The desire to realize innate possibilities is inherent in human nature. We cannot help wanting to be all that we can be. So, any of you grow up with the story of being selfish or greedy? And you shouldn't want more. You get what you get and you don't get upset. And it's selfish to want more. I had grown up with that story and I really felt greedy for wanting what I wanted. And when I read that quote, I was like, wait a minute, maybe I'm supposed to want this. And what I understand now, if you think about a little child, right? The first thing they want is to be able to crawl. But then the moment they've mastered crawling, they want to be able to walk. And then the moment they've mastered walking, they want to be able to run. Then they want to run faster. Then they want to win races. Then they want to beat their big siblings, right? It's the more that is who we are as humans and who we are becoming. And when you understand that there's no guilt, there's no shame, there's no selfishness, there's no greediness in wanting more. You free yourself up to really deeply embrace those things that you want in your life. And in a therapy context, this is like so much of people's guilt is based on the fact that they feel selfish or greedy, that they're trying to tell themselves to settle for less than they really want. And when you can help a client move past that, that see that their desire for more is a higher divine calling within themselves. And that divine calling is leading them to more and greater and bigger and thriving. They want to foster that desire rather than tell it to shut up. This is a really powerful tool to eradicate any guilt or any shame about feeling selfish or greedy. There's so much more that we have to want, that we want to want, that we just need to give ourselves permission to want. So this did take me a few years to understand this, to really embody it. But now I see all of those desires that I have as truly divine callings because they never go away. You want this, you get it. Well, instantly, boom, you want that. And then you want that. And then you want that. There's nothing wrong with it. It's how we are created to be. And Wallace says it so much better than I do. He says, there is, pardon me, there's nothing wrong in wanting to get rich. I'm going to just read that again. There's nothing wrong in wanting to get rich. The desire for riches is really the desire for a fuller, richer, and more abundant life. And that desire is praiseworthy. I have seen this in my life. This book came into my life probably 20 years ago. That's when I was going through this struggle that I was talking about earlier. And the wanting money, I didn't even want riches. I just wanted money. And that did lead me to a life that I never could have imagined for myself, and realizing that it really wasn't about the money at all. It was about the pathway into this richer life for myself. He goes on to say that desire is possibility seeking expression. This line, it's just so beautiful because desire is God or source or whatever you want to call it, universal intelligence, calling us to the more that we are capable of. Desire is what helps us see beyond our current lives, our current situations, see what's possible. And in creating what's possible, it calls us to be more spiritually aware, operate at a higher vibration, live a richer, fuller life. And isn't that what makes the world a better place? Isn't that how we become better people? But the only way to get there is through chasing after these desires. It's in chasing our desire that we learn all of these bigger lessons, which is why our desires are so essential and should be fostered rather than shut down as being selfish or greedy. The desire of God that It is the desire of God that you should get rich. He wants you to get rich because he can express himself better through you if you have plenty of things to use in giving him expression. Isn't that beautiful? Especially coming from a minister where so many ministers were teaching scarcity and poverty. He really understand that the desire of God for people is to thrive, and money is one of the ways in which we thrive. The very best thing you can do for the whole world is to make the most of yourself. I'm going to leave it with that today because I do believe that is the most profound thing. The very best thing you can do for the whole world is to make the most of yourself. When we all live into the best versions of ourselves, the world becomes a much better place. If you can embrace that, embrace your desires, free yourself of greed, the idea of greediness or selfishness or guilt or shame about wanting more, and just embrace it, you create the pathway to become the best version of yourself, and everybody benefits. Thank you so much for listening. I will see you on the next episode of the Spiritual Psychotherapy Podcast.